Hello everyone, welcome back to Turtles Cove Media. I'm glad you're here, whether you're here just to watch, learn, or just decompress for a little bit. And first off, I just wanted to take a moment. If anyone's having a rough time, please seek help, whether it's through a friend, family, or just through any sort of resource you can call. You're important, and the world needs everyone that it can have. So again, been going through a lot of stuff lately myself. I just wanted to send this message out here. Again, you are important. People do care about you. And just seek help. Find people that'll listen to you. And just talk. With that little bit out of the way, we're just going to get right into it. So, been making our Tetris game. Moving along. Not a whole lot going on yet in this game. We've got the window, we got the grid. And I'll show that here real quick. Don't worry, we'll zoom in just a bit. And there we go. We have our window, and we have the grid that our pieces are going to be displayed onto. So we're just going to exit out of that, and I'll actually zoom in a bit. We'll be going back and forth between a few things, just because it's trying to visualize what we're going to be doing can be a little bit difficult. So first things first, we have to create the shapes. So a Tetris shape is called a Tetrimino. It is a combination of 4 squares in a variety of configurations. And so, and I guess to give a visual, I'm going to bring up another application here, just a very basic paint, well, pixel art application on Aspirite. It's really good if you're into pixel art, but I'm just going to grab a tool here. And so what we're going to be creating, and is a Tetrimino is 4 squares in any configuration. So in this case, we have the line piece that we can have a square, and I'm just gonna make this nice and easy for me. When we can have different shapes, like this. Now I'm not going to draw every single one, but it's different combinations of these shapes. And so one might ask, well, how are we going to code that? How are we going to program? How are we going to get it displayed to our screen? Well, let me get rid of this for a minute. We probably come back to it. I'm just going to go full screen. There we go. And so first thing we'll do is we'll be going back and forth just a little bit. We're going to come up here, give ourselves a couple spaces, and we're going to create ourselves a class. So in a lot of programming, more modern, or a lot of programming languages nowadays, you have classes and you have functions. And so depending what you want to do, in this case, like our grid, we're going to call a function. But with our Tetris pieces, our Tetriminos, we want a class because you could actually have multiple instances of this. So this will be its own object that we're going to call multiple times. Not going to get too heavily into all the specifics there, but we will be using, depending on what we need, we will be using both of these. So we've already created a function for our grid. Now we're going to create our class for our actual Tetris pieces, and they are known as Tetriminos. And so what we're going to do is we're going to immediately call a function, and this is this is more or less a built-in thing. We're just saying to initiate it, I'm going to call self. So it is talking about this piece, X, Y, shape, and color. Again, we want to keep things as pointy as possible. Shape will be the shape, color be the color, and X and Y is the coordinates where it's going to be on the screen. So self.x. So every instance of our Tetris pieces will be its own we'll call this class and it'll exist on its own and be assigned these values. And you can also nest our classes and functions inside of each other. So we have our so a little bit incorrect there. So we have our Tetrimino class, and inside we have an initialize function, and we're going to have a draw function. Draw self. So this way it gets created, and then we can also say we use the self, so it's basically it's acting upon itself. We can go for row, index, and I'll explain what this is going to do once I get everything written out. Again, I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and if you've not, I hope you have someone you can talk to that you can confide in, because again, you're important. If val, and then so what's going on here? So we just have this index of values, and we'll be creating those in a bit, and what it's going to do is it's going to go through that to create the shape, but this will also be assigning the color. I'm actually going to have to, zoom out. I have a second window open of this with my notes, and unfortunately, it's a little, some of these get a little bit long. There we go. Dot draw, dot rect. Oh, we're going to draw it to our screen. We're going to assign it the color, its own color. And now it's going to be placed self.x plus call x cell size, and then self.y plus row index. Oh, you don't have to actually have this space, doesn't matter, but it makes it easier to read. All right, then cell size. Rect. X. And it's going to be a little bit easier to show you what's going on once we get a little bit further in. I do apologize. So all we're doing, really going through here, is for each shape, it's going to go through, it's going to create the Tetrimino, it's going to choose a shape, and that'll be randomized in a later lesson. And then it's going to draw the shape square, but then we're also going to be giving it a black outline just to make it easier to see and make everything look as nice as possible is all we're doing here. So it's not too different from the one above it, but this is just going to give it the black outline to keep everything looking nice, making it easy to tell what is what. Oh, index times our cell size. Same thing. Cell size, and then a border. All right. And so now, next thing is to use this, we're going to have to have a, we're going to have to put our shapes in and put our colors. And something I realized I kind of contradicted myself. We're actually going to be inputting the randomness in this one. This is going to be a little of a beefy lesson, just because of the amount of stuff we're doing to do this setup. All right. So this import random, I should have done that at the beginning. This is just going to let us. This is how the game's going to randomize what piece the player gets. So to sorry. So to do what we're about to do, we have to create two constant values because we don't want these to change at the game start. We're never going to change these, at least outside of changing in the program. But during play, these will never be changed. And so that's going to be the color of the Tetris pieces and their shapes. And so how we're going to do this, we're actually going to be creating two arrays. The first one's going to be called colors. And so to create an array, you're going to name your variable. It can be constant. It doesn't have to be constant. It can just be a standard variable, and you're going to use brackets. And that's just going to tell Python, hey, this is an array. And we're not going to make the full array yet, but we're going to do a red color because it's going to stand out nice. Oops. And we're just going to do 255 by 0 by 0, and that'll be red. And this is going to be a one-dimensional array. And now we're going to make a shapes array. And this is where it might get a little bit confusing. Oh. So to make this array, it's, I guess in a way, going to be an array within an array. And again, I know that's confusing. I apologize. And that's why we have these double for loops, because our shapes will be within each other. And so I'll make two shapes, and hopefully I can from there explain what's going on. Or actually, I think it's, well, I don't want to get too down into the weeds what's going on here. I'm just going to create two shapes, and then I'm going to explain I'm going to try and explain what's going on. Oh. Oh. All right. So we'll have more shapes, but that's what we're going to work with this, and then we'll come back and add them. So we have our first array, which is right now just has one value. It's this color right here. It's our color red. And actually, we need to go ahead and we're just going to make both red. Because what's going to happen, it's going to loop through these arrays, and the order of the shapes is going to match the order of their color. So the first shape is the line, and so the first color goes with the line. And then the second color here, which is in this case also red, but we'll change that, is going to go with this second piece here. Now you're going to ask, what is this shape? So what's going on? And again, this is a beefy lesson. I kind of apologize. Only so much I could do. Let me just erase this real quick. Okay. So hopefully my drawing skills are up to par. So our first shape is this 1, 1, 1, 1. And so this in itself is so we have the top level array, then inside, and then the third, which in itself is another array. And so what's going on? Our Tetrimino class is going through and it's reading the shape. So if it goes with the line, it's going to read this 1, 1, 1, 1. And so what it's doing, so if we have 1, 1, again, I'm sorry, my writing's awful here, and 1, we're going to get If it's a 1, it is a solid square. So it's 1, 1, 1. We get 4 squares right next to each other. And so on our grid, we'd get 4 solid squares. Our next shape, if you see, we have 1, 0, 0, followed by 1, 1, 1. And so what's going on there? So we have our 1, and we have a 0 and a 0. And so what's happening there, and I'll use a different color, is we have a square being drawn, followed by blank and blank. And what's happening with, and that's with this, when we go from 1, 0, 0, comma, 1, 1, 1, is, oh, not that it matters, but just, we have 1, 1, 1, and hopefully, I really hope this isn't confusing any of y'all. We have square, square, square. So now we have this shape being drawn. And so that's what's going on, is we're using a 1 and a 0, so in a way a true and a false. If it sees a 1, we're going to have it draw. If it sees a 0, it's just going to ignore that grid placement, that cell. So that's all we're doing here. So we'll come back and put more here, but we're going to get everything else working, and then we'll make everything look nice. So now we're going to come down under our running. We're going to add a variable called current. We may come back and change that later, but just for now, we're going to call it Tetrimino. And so this is how we're going to generate the Tetriminos, or our Tetris shapes for it. 0. So we're telling it where to spawn initially. I guess we'll rate it spawn in general, and then we're going to be pulling the shape and the color. So we're just going to do random dot choice and shapes, and then random dot choice colors. And right now it's all going to be the same. So now all we're going to have to do is add one more line, and we're going to call our current dot draw, and there we go. Gonna let it run. You see there. So, and then so there's not a whole lot happening yet, just because. And you see, it's just gonna cycle through the different shapes. So we had the L, I'll call it, and now we have the line. And so then it's not going to cycle through anything yet. We don't have that built into the game, but it is currently drawing it onto our grid. And you can see that nicely laid out. And you can see here we have, got to turn off my Steam notifications. We have, and that's in this draw loop, that's what's going on, is it's drawing basically the shape. Well, if there's a shape, it's given the shape, it's drawing it and giving it its color, and then the second line, it's just adding back to the grid because our shape is actually filling that in. And actually I can show that real quick. There we go. So you can see that's all the second line is doing. The shape's still there, but our grid is gone. And just to keep everything looking nice, we want it. If you want to just quickly try and cycle through the shapes, you can actually just come in and restart real quick. Your restart times will vary, but we'll very quickly in the next few lessons get it so that this will happen. And again, it's random, so you could just keep getting the same shape over and over again. But we'll stop with that, and we're going to come back up and we're going to create all the shapes and give them all their colors. We'll finish out the shapes first. All right, and we have 0, comma. And if anyone needs any help visualizing this a little bit further, just let me know down in the comments and I will happily create some sort of reference sheet to try and go into more detail and show what shape each of these if you're having a hard time seeing it. 0. It's going to be 1, comma 1, comma 0. Yep. And then 0, comma 1, comma 0. And then 1, comma 1, comma 1. And the order itself doesn't technically matter of these shapes as long as you have all of them in here. Comma 1, comma 0. And you can add extra spaces if you want. But again, this is one of those things this is a little bit more for readability or how you want your code to look. Alright, so now we're going to actually add all of our colors. And this will be in order, so the first color is going to go with your first shape. This is the only, well, if you want to, only time the order is going to matter is if you want a shape to have a specific color, you'll have to make sure it lines up with the color array. Alright, and I am actually going to type all these out, but I'm gonna make this a little easy on myself. Just gonna go ahead and, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shapes, so we have to have 7 colors. 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, and I'm just gonna do a little bit copy pasting here. Actually, no, I can't do that. 255, 255. So, again, it's RGB, so 255 green, 255 blue. We're going to have yellow. This next one, 255, is straight blue. 255 red. Oh. And 165 green. Then 255. Oh. And these numbers, they go from 0 to 255, and the higher the value, the more of that color is going to show through. 255, 128, and 128. And then our last color is going to be, this is the red piece. Okay. Oh. Alright, now we can run this. Alright, there we go. I'm just going to hot reload this, or restart it, whatever you want to call it. And we're just going to go through and see our Tetris pieces. Get it. Yeah. There we go. Now this is the last one I'm doing because there's no guarantee I'm going to go through the entire list or that we're going to see everything. There we go. So we have our Tetris pieces, the class that will create them, ready to go. We have the shapes and their colors in our game. We have the basic of the randomness in there. and we can draw them to the screen. And so now next steps is we have to create collisions so the pieces move, and as well as we have to implement player control, so we have to be able to control the pieces. And so that's where we will be going from here. A little bit of a longer lesson today. Thought it might actually be longer than this, but that's not a bad thing, honestly, to go a little bit long. Better than to cut it a little bit short. Again, I'm glad all of you that showed up, I'm glad you stopped by. I hope you have a wonderful week. And just, again, keep on keeping on. I'll see you next time.